on the phone. It is a pleasure to welcome to this program for the first time Bill McKibben, an American environmentalist and writer, considered one of the nation's leading environmentalists. He is the author of many books, including The End of Nature, The Age of Missing Information, Hope, Human and Wild. He is also the one of the founders of 350.org. Welcome to the program, Bill.
Good to be with you, Sam.
So, there was a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, but there has been some breaking news over the past 24 hours since we booked you, and I would love to talk about this. I know you are you've been following this case quite closely. Timothy DeChristopher, he is an environmental activist. He's just been found guilty of interfering with an onshore oil and gas leasing, with the Onshore Oil and Gas Leasing Act. Tell us about this.
Tim's a good fellow. He's from the state of Utah, and they're in Utah, inspired, by the ghost of Ed Abbey and the very real presence of people like Terry Tempest Williams. He did something spontaneous and I think pretty funny and creative. He went into one of these oil and gas leasing auctions that the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, runs, and he picked up a paddle and he bid on a number of parcels of oil and gas leases that the federal government was auctioning off, and he won them. He didn't actually have the millions of dollars that he needed to pay for them, and so it slowed down, threw a little sand in the gears of this operation, which, is against the law and also, in many ways, a very useful thing to be doing, since we need desperately, for climate reasons, to keep that carbon in the ground. But yesterday, the federal government brought the full and awesome weight of its power to bear on him. He was convicted on 2 felony counts in a Utah courtroom. He faces 10 years in jail when he's sentenced in June. So, in a country in which we've managed to indict precisely 0 bankers for their role in pretty much upending the world's economy, we can be proud that our federal judiciary under Attorney General Holder has managed to at least get the scalp of one person who slowed down for a few days the efficient selling off of our landscape to the highest bidder.
We actually have a clip of his speech that he gave after the trial, and we'll play that at the end of this interview. So what are the implications of this for the broader movement? I mean, do you think that? I mean, it was interesting because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was your piece that you had written about money pollution, and let's segue into that for a moment if we could, because you wrote this piece about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And just give me some background on that. You talk about
sure.
the amazing influence it has because of its money.
Yeah, these guys, if money pollution were a visible phenomenon, the biggest smokestack would be on top of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce building, directly across the street from the White House. These guys boast about spending more money on lobbying than anybody else in Congress. They do lots of things with it. They helped fight the health care plan, for instance, but an awful lot of their attention goes to making sure that making sure that the planet warms up as quickly as possible. Just as one small example, they filed a series of briefs with the EPA last year, demanding that they take no action on climate, because if, as they pointed out, the planet warmed, human populations could adapt their physiology and behavior in order to deal with the extra heat. These guys are far out and far right and far powerful. And so yes, I'd written a piece explaining this, and that, among other things, seemed to have been enough to earn our group 350.org a spanking from Glenn Beck last Friday night. Up on his famous board went our logo, and next to it, curiously, a hammer and sickle.
Yes.
Something I hadn't really. I mean, there's a kind of I don't know what archaic quality to the idea that your opponents are communists. We're clearly his opponents, but what we're for are businesses nimble enough to adapt to the new world, which is supposed to be the great virtue of capitalism, and not businesses that require endless subsidy and protection from the federal government so they can keep doing dangerous things forever.
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate you on making it to the chalkboard. That's quite a feat because Glenn Beck is so crazy that at least he's it's sometimes impressive just to see that he actually has the capacity to absorb that there are certain organizations out there that aren't completely fanciful. So at the very least we know that he's on some type of wavelength, and I wanted to also just to congratulate you on having your own new flag, I guess, the hammer and the sickle.
There you go.
But is it a slight change in strategy and tactics? And we're at a time where there was with a democratically controlled Congress, both a House and a Senate, with a democratically controlled executive branch, we were unable to pass any type of climate change legislation, whether or not it was even anemic by the end of that process.
Yeah. Look, clearly the methods that the big environmental groups were using didn't work. And, for 20 years, there's basically been this kind of elite strategy. We're going to work a little bit behind closed doors on these complicated schemes like cap and trade, and we'll co-opt enough of the business guys, and we'll convince enough of the elites that it's in their interest, and we'll give Goldman Sachs enough skin in the game, and we'll get something through. Whether or not it was a sound strategy, in the end, it was a failed one. I mean, the Senate last year refused to even vote on that cap and trade bill, and then we saw what happened in November's elections. That strategy is over. If we're going to get anything done about the biggest problem we've ever faced, we're going to have to go from the grassroots and build mass movements that build real political power, that don't pussyfoot around. And part of that is, these kind of big campaigns we're running across the country about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce this year. They're going to be already thousands and thousands of businesses coming out to declare the U.S. Chamber doesn't speak for me. We can't take their money, but we can soften up their political credibility. And part of it's going to be more militant tactics, like what Tim DeChristopher did. I don't think that's anywhere near the last of this kind of civil disobedience you'll see. In fact, it's not the first. I mean, 3 weeks ago, Wendell Berry, probably our greatest living writer in this country, sat in the governor's office in Frankfort, Kentucky, until the governor agreed to at least go look at the devastation caused by coal mining in his commonwealth. Time to step up this fight. We're losing badly. The Arctic's halfway melted. There's really not much reason to wait much longer, I think.